The Alternative Corner, where we will follow topics of interest other than boxing. At October Red, we always want to engage with our listeners and accommodate what our viewers want to listen to. Feedback is essential. Feel free to tell us yours. Listen in to episode 12, where we discuss the removal of Prince Andrew's ducal title by parliamentary law. The story continues of power, accountability, and the question of whether the law truly applies to everyone.
Hello, good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Abs of October Red, and we are back in the Alternative Corner. Don't ask me what episode it is, but it's another episode. It'll be in the title, I'll leave that there. And we're speaking about Prince Andrew again. We're going to talk about him, the Crown, Parliament, and the peerage system. I like to try and explain and try and understand myself. So I've had to do a little bit of research here because this was sort of out of what I'm used to. So I had to do a little bit of research to find out about this topic as well. So it's explaining the constitutional context behind the growing parliamentary scrutiny regarding Prince Andrew. So royal titles are often treated as symbolic. As you know, the king's presence, as it were, within our democratic system is more symbolic, as it's the parliament that writes the laws. But legally, they sit at the heart of Britain's constitutional structure. The growing scrutiny of Prince Andrew isn't just about scandal. It's about how peerages work, what Parliament can and can't do, and what it would mean if his title were ever removed. In this episode, we'll explain exactly what peerage is, how the House of Lords changed in 1999 by Tony Blair, they reformed it, and why Parliament is now involved, and what would happen if the Duke of York lost his dukedom. And we mean officially, because it's not officially gone yet, is it? It's like a voluntary, I won't use it anymore. So on October the 22nd, 2025, Prime Minister Keir Starmer stated publicly that he supports greater transparency over Prince Andrew's continued occupation of the Royal Lodge in Windsor. Andrew has lived in the property under a long-term lease with the Crown Estate since the mid-2000s. The arrangement is now subject to growing scrutiny in the House of Commons. As you know, the House of Commons, there's two parts to Parliament, House of Commons and House of Lords, but we'll go into that in a bit. MPs from several parties are calling for a formal inquiry into the terms of the lease and whether it represents fair market value, how the Crown Estate assets are managed for public benefit, and the wider constitutional question of whether a royal without public duties should continue to enjoy such privileges. This isn't just about property, it's about public accountability, because the Crown Estate is publicly owned, generating revenue for the nation, not for individual royals. MPs call on Royal Lodge inquiry, and that's October 2025. All of this is new and recent, and you can obviously, I'm signed up, I'm subbed to the Parliament page on YouTube, so you can see what discussions, what debates they're having in there. So the title question, this is what we're kind of talking about. In parallel with the Royal Lodge issues, MPs have begun to raise constitutional questions about Andrew's title, Duke of York. A briefing published by the House of Commons Library on October the 20th, 2025 confirmed that the Royal Dukedom is a peerage, a legal title of nobility. Crucially, the monarch cannot simply remove it. Formal removal requires an Act of Parliament. This means MPs and Lords would need to debate, draft and pass a legislation just like they would do for any other law. And we've spoke about that before, so I don't need to go into detail about it. Going through Commons has to be agreed, etc. Going through Lords has to be agreed, and then obviously that's when His Royal Highness King Charles would then stamp it off to be a law that it's removed. It's not that simple. Historically, this has only ever happened once in modern times under the Titles Deprivation Act 1917. So to understand what's at stake, we need to be clear about what a peerage actually is. And a peerage is a legally recognised noble title in the UK. There are 5 ranks: dukes, marquess, earl, viscount and baron. Royal dukedoms, like the Duke of York, are a type of peerage. They are titles granted by the Crown and recognised in law. In the past, holding a peerage meant you can automatically be sat in the House of Lords, but that changed with the House of Lords Act 1999. Before 1999, hereditary peers, people who inherited their titles, automatically sat and voted in the House of Lords. The House of Lords Act 1999 changed that. Over 650 hereditary peers lost their seats overnight, and only 92 of those remain today, elected internally by their peers. Since then, the Lords have become an appointed chamber. Most members are life peers appointed by the Prime Minister and the monarch under the Life Peerages Act 1958. A smaller number are nominated through the House of Lords Appointments Commission for independent cross-bench roles. 26 seats go to senior bishops of the Church of England, so you look at the religious aspect to it as well, and just 92 are hereditary, 92 that were left when the 650 were basically told to leave. Today, no one is elected by the public to sit in the Lords. It's an appointed chamber with a specific constitutional role to revise, scrutinise and delay, not to veto legislation. So they can look at the law. Say, for example, they want to officially take Andrew's titles off him. It goes through the House of Commons or through their process. They agree. It goes into the House of Lords. They can look at that law. They can potentially add revisions. They can scrutinise it. And that can potentially cause a delay. But they cannot say, no, this can't happen. They're not that powerful. The House of Commons, the MPs, are the ones with the most power. 2 key principles protect democratic control: the Parliament Act 1911 and the Parliament Act 1949, to allow the Commons to override the Lords after set time limits. The Salisbury Convention means that the Lords does not block major manifesto commitments. So while titles like the Duke of York are peerages, they no longer come with automatic legislative power, because that was stopped, like I said, by Tony Blair. So Lords revise and delay, but the Commons decide. So what would happen if Parliament decided to remove Prince Andrew's dukedom? Because the Duke of York title is a peerage, Parliament would need to pass a bill similar to principles in the Titles Deprivation Act used in 1917 to strip titles from royals who supported enemy powers during the First World War. You can research that, there's a list of them. If such legislation passed both houses and received royal assent, that's His Majesty the King stamping it off, the title would no longer legally exist. Andrew would revert to Prince Andrew, still a prince by birth, but no longer a Duke of York. Importantly, this would not affect the line of succession or his blood royal status. It would be symbolic and constitutional rebuke, not a removal of royal birthright. I'm sure that makes sense. But why does this matter? Why am I going on about it? First of all, it's to let you guys understand the law side of it, so you can get to see that it's not just open and shut. It's not just quick and easy to make these decisions, that there is a process that you have to go through. And just because we were all reporting, he's no longer the Duke, that was a decision that he said he will no longer use those titles. They were not officially removed. And this is why the growing Commons debate around Prince Andrew matters. It's not just about who lives at the Royal Lodge, it's about how royal titles fit within constitutional law, what Parliament can do to hold power accountable, and how old structures like the peerage system interact with modern expectations of transparency. No one had a royal dukedom removed since 1919. If Parliament even considers it, it would be down as a historical, constitutional moment. So in Britain, the Crown and Parliament are bound together. Royal titles carry history, but Parliament carries the law. Whether MPs act or not, the moment shows how even the oldest institutions can be brought under democratic scrutiny, and it's why we do have a democracy. Like I says, I'll go back to Magna Carta. No one is above the law. Let me know what you think about it. I'm Abs of October Red. This is the Alternative Corner. And we spoke about Prince Andrew, the Crown, Parliament and the peerage system. So let me know what your thoughts are. The source I'll put in the description, because like I said, all of the information, I have to research it, I have to understand it before I give that info to you guys, because I want to make sure it's factual, it's not rumour, it's not gossip. So when I'm talking about things moving forward, you'll remember when I said in this episode X, Y and Z, that's why this has happened and that's why this could happen. But the acts are there, about the peerages are there, House of Lords acts are there, the reform, Tony Blair was part of that, Parliament Act 1911, and it was amended I think in 1949. So peerage is a legal title, not a guaranteed seat in the House of Lords. The House of Lords was reformed in 1999, hereditary privilege mostly removed. Removing a royal dukedom requires an act of Parliament, and the Commons debate on Andrew marks a rare moment of constitutional scrutiny within the monarchy. I'm Abs of October Red. This was the Alternative Corner. I've got to shout out my sponsors, SAUK, Maximum Security, Minimum Fuss. Keep your ears, keep your eyes open for notifications to when our next episode is out. And all I can say at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, is stay ready.
Thank you for listening to The Alternative Corner. Most of our listeners have not yet subscribed. We kindly ask you for your support by subscribing to our channel and to share our content. October Red is sponsored by SAUK, Maximum Security, Minimum Fuss.